Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
'Cause I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man. I've breathed the mountain air, man. I've travelled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Been to Tullamore, Seymour, Lismore, Mooloolaba, Nambour, Roochdore, Kilmore, Marillaba, Birdsville, Emmaville, Wallaville, Connemara, Connemara, Strathround, Proserpine, Ulladulla, Darwin, Gingin, Lilliquin, Muckdilla, Wallumbilla, Bougainville, Cumberland, Ramakilla. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man.
Yes, indeed. We have been everywhere, but I tell you where we haven't been, Rob, yet on Regional Roundup, and that is to Armidale. And I'm not talking about the one in the suburbs of Melbourne, because that's Armidale. This is Armidale in northern New South Wales, where we find Lucy Collingridge. G'day, Lucy.
Morning, boys. How you going?
Doing very, very well indeed. Thanks for joining us on Regional Roundup on the Two Blokes Chatting radio show. Help us out. I mean, I know because I've been there. It's a beautiful little place, but tell the listeners where they would find Armidale.
Armidale is a cute little country city, northeastern New South Wales. We're 2 hours inland from Coffs Harbour. If you've been up on the northern, not quite the Northern Rivers area of our state, but the northern coastline. We're about halfway between Brisbane and Sydney, and then obviously 2 hours inland.
Lucy, have you got a little bit of council marketing going on there? I've never heard anyone say a country city.
It is really. We're roughly 20,000.
Yeah, it's a pretty big place, but it's a country town or.
No, it is city. It is the Armidale Regional City, or City of Regional or something. Yeah, Regional City of Armidale.
I just never heard those two words used together. It was immediately caught my attention. So the marketing's working up there.
Maybe they need to pay me a bit more up.
They certainly need to pay us more.
And one of those cities where the reason for its purpose is very diverse. Lots of stuff going on up there with, based mainly, I suppose, agriculturally, but then all different sorts of that.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of our wool industry in Australia, and very luckily the climate and the soils up here suit that industry very well. So we've got a fantastic fine wool merino sheep enterprise up here, and then, as you say, we've got a few different little things happening around town. One of my favourites, which is Great Hops Brewery. You boys need to come up and visit and have a few beers with me, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's an absolute statement of fact, Lucy. If we got up there and you said to Robert, what sort of beer would you like? He'd say, Carlton Draft. He's not a craft beer man. I am. I'll drink his.
It's all right. We'll convert him.
Yeah.
In my defence, this is like the names we were talking about before. Craft beer is okay when you go back to what Mr. Cooper's did, but then everyone needs to be a little bit different to the other one, and I had one last week. It was like drinking wine.
Which he doesn't do.
That's not what beer's supposed to be.
Which he doesn't do either. Now, Lucy, the other thing a lot of people would associate with Armidale, as I was talking to you the other day, is the University of New England, which would be probably, the second or third biggest regional university in New South Wales?
Yeah, it would have to. I reckon it would nearly be the second. CSU's probably in front, just given that they've got a couple of different locations, Orange, Bathurst, and of course down at Wagga. Whereas UNE is based predominantly here in town, and then have a couple of different centres across the place that aren't quite as large as we are here in Armidale. But yeah, the campus is here in town, and our population obviously fluctuates as the students come and go throughout the year.
I was giving Newcastle the title of regional as well, hence my third. I thought they might sneak in ahead of you.
Is that anywhere near Newcastle?
Oof. Do you see what I've got to work with here, Lucy? A bloke who doesn't drink proper beer and talks about Newcastle. So the sorts of agriculture outside of the wool industry, you were saying there's a number of other things. What, do we have a bit of grain as well, do we, up in that neck of the woods, or a little bit of grapeage?
Little bit. Obviously our season up here is a lot shorter, so not suited to our traditional cropping that we see out in the Western districts. But yeah, predominantly I guess for livestock, to support our livestock industries up here, you'll get a bit of grain production or forage production for those livestock industries. Being lighter soils up here on the table and not as much cattle production, but there definitely are some cattle, and I get to luckily look over 14 head that are calving at the moment in the paddock below my little cottage. So, yeah, nice time of year.
Warm and fuzzy feeling, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you go out and do a bit of midwifing occasionally?
Luckily, not so much. The landlord here, it's his cattle, so he gets the responsibilities, and I get to view the little kiddies running around at the witching hour in the afternoon.
And talk about it on the radio like as though they're yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well played.
I delivered a set of triplets last week, Lucy. You, sheep, not cattle. That is a warm and fuzzy feeling, I can assure you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say something here and just look at the look on Rob's face. What, 12 legs of a lamb?
12 legs of lamb. What a horrible thing to say. That's awful.
Sorry, it was sitting up there. And you get the work on the camp, and I know we can't talk a lot about what you do, but you work on campus at UNE.
Yeah, so I work for Department of Primary Industries in wildlife and pest management research. So we've got partnerships up there with UNE. In terms of what I do, I get to spend a lot of days in our national parks around this region. So I think I'm one of the lucky ones that doesn't have to hike for 3 or 4 days to view our sites. I get to work out there every 2 to 3 months in the most amazing parts of our state, if I'm slightly biased to say so.
Well, of course, they would be amazing by New South Wales standards. Probably not by Victorian standards, but that's okay. There it is, back over the river at you. And if you do pest management, at some stage in Geelong, drop down. I've got a job for you in regard to my co-host. No, that's not very nice. That's not very nice.
Pull up, Tiger.
He's had a bit of a crack at my football team this morning.
No, I haven't.
So if people were coming to Armidale for a bit of a holiday, what would they be doing to entertain themselves?
Probably visiting our national parks. There's a gorgeous area up here this time of year. As I know both you boys have visited up here, it's a beautiful, beautiful time to visit. You've got your cold nights, but I'm sitting outside at the moment listening to the birds in the sun, obviously overlooking some livestock, and it can't get better than that at this time of year.
Well, when you say listening to the birds, when we stop and take a breath, you hear the birds, because obviously you're listening to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show like most people do on a Saturday morning.
Absolutely. Who else would want to listen to anything else on a Saturday morning than you pair?
You are very, very kind. Lucy, Rob has decided he's had enough. He's got up and walked out because he hosts the next program in the next studio. So we have this little awkward thing where we pass across. So it leaves me to have the pleasure of saying thank you very much for putting aside some of your time. It sounds like you're having a really stressful day sitting on the balcony watching the calves walk past. Thanks for being part of Regional Roundup, and thanks for being part of Two Blokes Chatting radio show.
Thank you very much, boys. Have a good day.